Welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. So, a question I want you to ask your finance team this week, maybe today. When the AI vendor sends you the invoice, what is missing from it? The answer is going to matter more to your bottom line than any model upgrade you are tracking, and almost nobody is measuring it yet. Social Capital published a primer on AI agents this month that walks through the architecture of the agent stack. Most of it is interesting. One section is genuinely important. They call it hidden human cleanup costs. That is the topic today. By the end of this episode, you will have a clear view of the line item your vendor invoice is not showing you, 3 real-world examples that put a number on it, and a one-question test you can use the next time an AI vendor is in your office trying to sell you something. Let's set the table. Here is how agent pricing works today. The vendor charges you for tokens or sessions or seats or some combination. The math looks clean. You can put it in a spreadsheet. The CFO nods. You sign the contract. What the invoice does not show is what happens when the agent fails. And when I say fails, I do not mean throws an error message. Traditional software produces errors. You see the red box, you know something went wrong. Agents fail differently. They produce confident wrong answers. They take actions on false assumptions. They quietly abandon a task partway through. They march through 15 steps of a workflow, making decisions that looked reasonable at step 1 and end up unreasonable by step 15. Nobody on your team knows yet until a human reviews the output. And then the cleanup starts. Let me tell you what cleanup looks like inside a real organization, because it is one of those costs that sounds abstract until you watch it happen. A knowledge worker, and let us say a finance analyst at $120 an hour, fully loaded, has to figure out what the agent did. That is diagnosis. Then they have to figure out which downstream steps were affected. That is impact analysis. Then they have to redo the work, that is rebuild. Then they have to rerun the parts of the workflow that depended on the agent's output, that is restart. And then sometimes they have to explain to a customer or a colleague why something was wrong. That is the cost you cannot put a dollar figure on, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. At $50 to $200 an hour, even a modest intervention rate compounds quickly. If your agent is running 10,000 tasks a month and even 5% of them need human cleanup, that takes 20 minutes. You are looking at roughly 1,700 hours a year of cleanup work. At a fully loaded rate of $120 an hour, that is more than $200,000 for one agent. That number does not appear anywhere on the vendor invoice. This is not theoretical. We now have public data on what happens when cleanup costs get out of hand. In December of 2025, Amazon's coding agent, Amazon Q, autonomously decided to delete and recreate a live production environment, a live one, in production. The result was a 13-hour outage of AWS in China. Then in March of 2026, Amazon Q caused a separate incident, 120,000 lost orders, 1.6 million website errors. A few days later, another outage, 6 hours. 99% of North American marketplace orders dropped. These were not pilots. These were not edge cases at a startup running on a free tier. This was Amazon, running an agent built by Amazon, inside Amazon's own production stack, with Amazon engineers on call, and the agent decided on its own to take a destructive action that no human approved, because that was what the loop in its head suggested it should do. The cleanup cost on those outages is not on any vendor's invoice. It is in the 8-figure range, possibly more, across the lost revenue, the engineering hours, the customer credits, the trust damage, the postmortem cycles, and the regulatory exposure. Now, most of you are not Amazon. Your agent is probably not going to delete a production environment. The Amazon examples are at the catastrophic end. But what should land for you is the principle, not the scale. If Amazon, with the best agent infrastructure in the world on its own platform with its own engineers, cannot prevent its agent from making expensive, autonomous decisions, the agents you are deploying inside your own company are doing the same kind of thing, just smaller, just quieter, just more often than you have been counting. Here is the part most CEOs missed in March because it was buried in a separate news cycle. In March of 2026, Anthropic accidentally published the source code for Claude Code to a public software registry, 512,000 lines of code, by mistake. The leak was painful for Anthropic. The interesting part for the rest of us is what the source code revealed about real production behavior. In a single month, 1,279 sessions experienced 50 or more consecutive failures, wasting roughly 250,000 API calls per day globally. That is the failure rate inside one of the best resourced AI labs in the world. If their agents are throwing 50 consecutive failures in over 1,000 sessions a month and burning 250,000 API calls a day in the resulting cleanup, what do you think your agent infrastructure is doing? The answer is the same thing, just without the source code leak that tells you about it. Here's what I want you to do the next time a vendor is in your office trying to sell you an agent. Let them give the demo. Let them quote the per token economics. Let them show you the dashboard. Then ask them one question. What is your intervention rate per 100 tasks? That is the question that separates the serious vendors from the marketing ones. A serious vendor will have measured it. They might tell you the number is higher than you want to hear, 3%, 8%, 15%, depending on the workflow, but they will tell you because they know what good looks like and they are working on getting their number lower. A marketing vendor will not have a number, or they will have a number that is suspiciously round, or they will redirect to a customer story, then ask the same vendor the second question, which is the one almost nobody asks. What is the average cleanup cost when intervention is required? If they cannot give you a defensible answer, they are selling you tokens. They are not selling you a production grade agent. The serious vendors are the ones who have done that math. They know that the agents which justify their economics are the ones that minimize human cleanup, not the ones that ship the most tokens. That is the question you bring to the contract negotiation, not what is the seat price. That math is solved. The interesting math is on the other side of the deployment. So, what do you actually do this week? Two things, and they are unglamorous. First, ask whoever runs your AI deployments what your current intervention rate is by agent, by workflow. If they cannot tell you, you do not have an agent program. You have a science project. Make them tell you what they would measure. Make them put a number on it by the end of the month, even a rough one. You cannot manage what you are not measuring. And the cleanup cost is the most undermeasured number in enterprise AI right now. Second, before you renew any AI vendor contract this quarter, run the two-question test. Intervention rate, cleanup cost per intervention. Get the answers in writing. If the vendor stumbles on either question, the renewal conversation should include a different shape than what they proposed. Maybe a smaller commitment, maybe a different scope, maybe a service level guarantee on intervention rates that they signed up to, maybe a different vendor. The cleanup cost line item is the leverage you have. Most CEOs are not using it yet because most CEOs have not yet realized that the invoice price is the down payment, not the total bill. The social capital primer makes one observation that I keep coming back to. They call it the price of agent deployment, the hidden line item that is going to define which agent vendors survive the next 2 years and which ones do not. The vendors who minimize human cleanup costs are the ones who will justify their economics in production. The vendors who do not are running pilots. They just call them products. There is going to be a sorting event in the next 18 months inside your own company. The agents that are quietly producing cleanup hours faster than they save them will get unwound. The agents that genuinely cut total cost, including the cleanup line item nobody is invoicing for, will get expanded. The companies that do this measurement well will be ahead by the time their peers figure out they need to. This is not a moonshot project. It is bookkeeping with teeth. Every major shift in enterprise technology has had a hidden cost that became visible only at scale. Cloud had egress fees, SaaS had vendor lock-in, AI agents have cleanup costs. The companies that measure it early will sort their stack on the right curve. The companies that do not will eventually find the line item anyway, just delivered as a surprise from the CFO at a budget meeting 12 months from now. Ask the question this week, what is missing from the invoice? The answer is going to be more interesting than you think. That is the YPO Tech Network AI brief for Friday, May 15th. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back next week with more. Until then, stay sharp.